Here is how to be completely lazy when writing DAX in Microsoft Power BI. Microsoft just brought out an interesting features that can help you write DAX effectively without the need of cramming on understanding all the DAX language. You just need to have some basic understanding of the DAX language so that when you write a natural language DAX, you'll be able to make some corrections and adjustments where necessary. So I'm going to show you where this feature is hidden in Power BI. If you go to modeling tab, there's something called Quick Measure here. Quick Measure have been here for some years now, but Microsoft just brought out something interesting in Quick Measure called suggestions. So these suggestions allow you to use the natural language to describe the measure you need. Like maybe you want to know the total sales, you want to know the sales year to date, you want to have different kind of calculation generated. For you to make this work effectively, especially when you'll be writing some time intelligence formulas or time intelligence selections, you need to make sure that if you have a calendar table in your model, you need to make sure you mark that as a calendar. You need to make sure you mark this your calendar as a date table. You need to mark it as a date table, right? Once you mark this as a date table, it will be very efficient for you to write any interesting measure or time intelligence you want to write. Now, I have some basic measure that I've put here for us to try. So let's start with total revenue. So here I'm going to type total revenue, and immediately I click on generate here. Let's see what is brought out. Oh, interesting. Look at the preview value, 73 billion, and right here I can see sum of fact sales revenue. So for those that are familiar with that very well, I'm sure you can see this is exactly what I want to do. This is my total revenue, and I can click add here, so I can select the table where I want this to be added to. Then I click if I want it to be added to fact sales, I click add, and this measure will be added to fact sales. Now my measure is in fact sales. Look at it. My measure is in fact sales here. So I can just go straight to my formula bar and rename this measure as total ref. I'll just call it total ref and then enter. So this is exactly the DAX measure that I want to write. So the second DAX measure that I have in my option is transaction count. I would like to count my transaction, and we all know when we are talking about transaction, we are talking about rows, right, and record in a table. So I'm counting my fact sales, which is basically the table for my fact. So I would like to count my fact sales to get my transaction count. So I can come here and say count fact sales. Look at that, count fact sales, and let me generate this. So interesting, look at the measure, count rows of fact sales. So these are automatically generated a measure to count the rows. So which is telling me that the total transaction we have here is 30,799. So if I want to add this to my measure, I could just click on add, and this will add this to my fact sales table as well. And I can call this total transaction, right? Or let me say transaction count. So I'll go straight to my formula bar just like I did earlier and rename the measure. So the measure is still coming up. Yeah, I'll rename the measure and call this trans count, right? So that's my total transaction count, which I've been able to write with just suggestion. Now let's look at another example. Here I have the 30 days rolling average revenue. So I want to see the 30 days rolling average of all my revenue, right? I can easily write that by coming to my suggestion as well and type exactly what I want here, just my suggestion, right? So I will just type 30 days rolling average revenue. Right, so this is exactly what I want, 30 days rolling average revenue, and let's click on generate to see an interesting measure this is going to bring out. For some of us may be like, oh, I don't know how to create 30 days rolling revenue, right? This is exactly how to create it. For those that are familiar with DAX very well, you can see my last date, which is technically the calendar date, the average and dates between, and the date as is using minus 30 day, right? This is day. and calculate is actually using fact-based revenue, which is just some fact-based revenue. So this is exactly the rolling 30 days revenue that I want. That's another suggestion, another interesting suggestion that you can add. I can decide to add this to my table as well. Okay, so I have another example, which is part revenue. I want to know the revenue for parts. I want to know the revenue for part. So to know the revenue for part, I'm just basically going to come here and write it in a simple English to say calculate revenue when LOB, I have a column called LOB, is parts, right? So this is my LOB here. So if you look at my DLOB here, I have a column called LOB. So I'm saying calculate revenue when LOB is equals to parts. So this is me writing this in simple English, and let's see what suggestion is good. That suggestion this is going to generate for me. Great! Wow! Look at this. See, calculate some fact-based revenue, keep filter DLOB part, right? This is interesting. In fact, I'm going to just show you this so you see how effective this is. So if I bring a table here right now and I drop my LOB here, my LOB with my revenue, so just to drop my revenue here. So let me increase this table so you can see the numbers very well. Let me increase this table. Alright, great. Now look at part. Part is what? 7,564,000,000, and this is exactly what this is creating for me. So this is me just generating the formula for only part. So if I add this to my table, which is my oh sorry, I think I click on DLOB table now. Okay, I'm still on fact sales. Alright, so I'm going to add this to my table so you see how effective this calculation is. So I'm going to call this part revenue. All right, just part revenue, and I'm going to bring this inside my visual. Okay, so now look at this. This is bringing only the part revenue, which is 7,564,000, and this is me just writing English, just tests. I didn't need to write all this. Look at how many formulas is combined, calculate, sum, and keep filters, right? So I can do the same thing for let's say region, to say calculate revenue when region is maybe let's say northeast, right? I'm going to generate the for northeast when region is equal to northeast, and I'll click on generate. Great. Same thing, right? Look at my measure, calculate sum revenue, keep filter, the region northeast, and this is technically northeast. So if I remove let's say I remove LOB from this my table, and I now include region, right? I included region. So now I can add, let me remove the part revenue. Now I can add this new one to my table to show how effective this is, right? But let's keep that. Now that I've shown you how to do this, right, you may also need to do some time intelligence calculation, how to be lazy with time intelligence, not just basic formulas, right? So if I go to time intelligence formulas, that are previous year revenue, I want to know the previous year revenue. So I can go to my DAX and basically come here and type revenue previous year. All right, revenue previous year. All right, revenue previous year, then generates. Amazing. Look at this. Calculate some fact-based revenue same period last year. For those that are familiar with this very well, you know this is the exactly formula you need to write when you are writing revenue last year, right? So this is me doing revenue previous year, and this is bringing an interesting formula for me just to do my revenue last year. So I can actually add this to my formula, and boom, I am done with revenue last year. I can also try with revenue previous month. Let's see what previous month is. It's going to generate. I'm sure you know there's no same period last month, so definitely maybe it's going to use date add -1 for me, or it's going to use previous month filter formula. But let's see how interesting this is going to be. I'm excited already. Now look at this. Look at this. Can you see? Calculate sum, date add, calendar -1, the month. This is the exact formula to calculate your revenue previous month. And you can see I am very lazy right now. In fact, somebody that is just getting started with DAX, you can easily go here and type your revenue previous month, and right here you can see what you are looking for. In fact, let me even create a date table and just put in some figures there so you can see what I am talking about. So I'm going to add year here, I'm going to add month. All right, then I'm going to add this formula. We'll add this formula. Okay, so and I'm going to go this revenue previous month, right? So this is my revenue previous month, okay, which is the one I just created with the calculation now. Okay, so let me add this my revenue previous month to my table. So I'm going to add revenue first, then after adding revenue, let me add revenue first, then after adding revenue, I'm going to add the revenue previous month. Okay, so look at how interesting this is. So this is my previous one, this is the previous for this, previous for this. This is interesting, right? I am completely lazy now when writing my DAX. Thank you so much, Microsoft. So let me try another one with you. We've done revenue previous year, we've done previous month. What about year to date or month to date? Let's just try something like that. So I want my revenue, let's say revenue YTD, for example. That's my year to date. I'm basically going to do revenue YTD. Let's see if that brings out what I want. I want revenue year to date. Interesting. Now look at this, total year to date, some revenue, then the calendar date. This is super interesting. This is the exact formula to use when you are calculating your revenue year to date, right? And same thing goes to month to date. I can go here and say I want to calculate my month to date, which is MTD, and I'll click on generate. Let's see if it's going to bring total YTD now. MTD, yeah, interesting. So this is month to date, total month to date, which I can even, let me even add this to my measure right now, total month to date, right? So this is me just typing English. I'm not doing something very techy right now. Okay, you can see the power of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to call this MTD, month to date, and I'm going to add it to my table. Alright, cool. So now look at my month to date. So this is my month to date calculation, and this calculated it exactly where I want it, right? Which is very interesting. So let me look at another example I have there. Okay, so I have variance formulas here too. So how do I calculate my year on year? How do I calculate my year on year percentage? How do I calculate my month on month? How do I calculate my month on month percentage? So it's actually very simple. So I just need to come here. Let's start with month to month. So I'll just do MOM percentage change. I'm going to type month-on-month percentage change in revenue. And look at this, and let me click generate. So month-on-month percentage change in revenue, month-on-month percentage change in revenue, and look at this, right? So first of all, it put my formulas in variables and say previous month, calculate this date add for month, then now divide this by this. So let me add this interesting formula to my table so you see how interesting this is for me. This is me calculating a variance without typing any formula, I'm just writing, right? So I just created a variance without typing any formula, which is me basically writing. Okay, so this is the new measure I created. This is the year month-on-month percentage, MOM percentage, right? So this is me calculating the MOM percentage. I am going to add this to my table now so you see how interesting this is. month-to-month percentage change, right? Month-to-month percentage change. So let me add that to my table and change the format to percentage. I'm going to change this to percentage, and then I will add this measure to my table. Now look at this. This is month-to-month percentage change. Now look at this. Is my table looking neat and nice. Interesting, right? So now I have my month-to-month. I can also create here change in revenue, the same way I created month-to-month change in revenue. I will just come here and change this to YOY, and then click on generate. And down here you're going to see the difference that is going to be previous year now, not previous month, right? Look at this. This is previous year. Calculate date, add for 1 and year, right? So that's interesting. Now another thing I would like to show you is when you are working with text, right? This formula can also work with text. For me, I like putting titles in my report, right? Like putting some example of titles, so in case you select something and then I want this title and title to show. So say for example, I say if selected region is blank, then show me a select a region, S selected region, right? So let's say in one of my reports that I have here, I want to create a title in such a way that when you select region, is going to show me the region that is selected up here, right? So I can easily come here and type English, right? To say if selected region is blank, right? Is blank, then I'm going to put this in code because I want this to come in text, right? You also need to understand how to use this suggestion so it will come out well for you. So I'll put this in code to say select a region. So this is a text that I want this thing to pop up when the region is blank, right? Select a region. Else, what do I want? Selected. I want the selected region. I want the selected region, right? So look at what I just typed, right? If selected region is blank, then select a region as a text. Then else, just give me the region that is being selected. And let's generate this formula and let's see how this formula is going to come out. Now, interesting, look at this. Select a region. If it's blank selected value, then this, and then select a region. If not, select a region. So look at this interesting formula. So let me add this so you see how interesting this is going to look like in my report. So I'm adding this to my formula right now to show you how interesting this is. Okay, so I'll call this selected region. Selected region. Selected region. Alright, so I have my selected region. So let me bring this selected region into a card so you see how this is going to behave in a card. Alright, so I was on the region, so before I click on generate, so I have to make sure that I'm on the table that I want before, so make sure you don't do that mistake. So let me duplicate this card. This is a card visual, so I'm going to duplicate this card and I'm going to drop my selected region into this card instead. So look at what this is showing. So this is showing selected region. So this is showing selected region. So if I select a region now, you're going to show the name of that region that I selected, which is northeast up there. Look at how interesting that is. So what if I want to create something like this report as at 30th of June 2015? I can do that as well. So that's one of my other example that I have here. So I can come here and say I want something like report exact, but you need to put that report exact in quotes because you want it to come at test. Report exact, I'll put it in quotes, and I want to join today with it, which is the date when the person opened the report. So I'll just use the ampersand sign and say to today formula. Once I type today here, this engine should understand that I'm trying to generate a today date. So I'll click on generate. And right here, look at this, report as at today. Report as at today, and that is showing me the date, right? Report as at 10/23/2022. Now I can also use now, the now formula, which is also interesting, right? But what if I don't want this date like this? So this date is showing report as at 10/23/2022. What if I want a nice structure format? I want the report to be very format, right? So I can easily go back here and say in just English, right? To say format today, look at this, as, in quote again, dd mmm, which is I want the month to show, which is show me whatever month you have, mmm hyphen yy 4y, and then close my quote for the format that I want. Report as at format today as this format, so that my date can come out well. Now let's see my formula. See, this is going to change my formula. Okay, so let's see this. So report as at today, and this is showing this today as DD. So this does not really understand my formula. So let me rephrase this my sentence. So let me rephrase this my sentence and say, instead of as, let me use in probably, and let's say generate. Now look at this, can you see just English? So I used as before and it could not really understand what I'm trying to generate, and I use in now, which is me just trying to understand the English that I'm typing. And look at this, report as at and format today into DDMMMYYY. So when you hover your mouse on this now, look at this, report as at 23 October 2022, which is different from the squash up date that I had before. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you like this video. Thank you.